Hey everybody, this is Ryan Robitaille back again with another Data Rabbit video. I'm making this video because when I set out to do this project, so Data Rabbit being this canvas-based data viz slash Clojure IDE spatial visualization tool, I guess you could call it, but it's a lot of different things, honestly. I wanted to make a video that treats it as just a data viz tool without being a Clojure tool, right? Because I initially set out to make a superset like, dashboard builder, and it ended up turning into a whole development environment for Clojure and ClojureScript, or wearing the skin of a data tool, or maybe it's a data tool wearing the skin of an IDE. I don't know. Either way, I want people to know that you can use this without knowing Clojure, but knowing Clojure and learning Clojure will get you into the nuts and bolts to do like cool things. So, I mean, think of it this way. I was always frustrated with tools like Superset and Tableau because you can make so many cool things, but you hit a ceiling, right, where you basically have to hack the tool to make it work. And I always wanted a tool where I could generate quick, good things, and then if I want to take it a step further, I can hack through it, right? So this is going to be a super quick, tiny dashboard, nuts to bolts, based on this Boston incident data I have here. This is super complicated, well, not super complicated. This is a complicated dashboard I'm going to go over in another video. I just wanted to show it here to give you kind of a taste of like, what I'm thinking about. But we're going to start completely from scratch. So let me go down to here, my WSL, and we're going to clear. So this assumes that you've downloaded the Data Rabbit zip, and there's a jar there and some folders with configuration data and some sample data. So I'm just going to say java/jar and Data Rabbit alpha 1 standalone.jar. Going to boot this guy up. Java's making the sauce. All right, there we go. Now we're running. So go here to a fresh tab. We're gonna go to localhost 8080. Comes up, takes a second to boot up its bootstrap environment. Cool. All right, now we are here. We are at a blank Rabbit canvas. I'm going to hit Shift Q to get rid of the file browser. You can also do that down here with these little buttons. And I'm going to say, I want a new canvas. I'm just going to hit this. It generates a new canvas called Pink Louse Flow 7. All right, random animal names, love it. Okay, so first we need some data. So I'm going to grab a server block. Server block allows me to make JDBC calls and SQL calls and send that return to the web, right? This to the front end. So let me just grab my JDBC connection here real quick. Helps if I have that window up. All right, cool. All right, one of the cool things it does is that if it recognizes a JDBC connection, I'm going to bring up my editor. Here's my editor. Shows the code. Shows the output, and it has some configurableness. We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to erase this, hello world version deal. Paste in my JDBC connection. So this is connected to a ClickHouse database on my local machine. So I run that. It sees it's a JDBC connection. It tries to connect to it, and it tries to get the metadata. And here it worked. Here's the metadata. Cool, but this is not super helpful. So it has this other panel available now called Out JDBC. So if I drag that over to this panel, it'll render the tables. Even better, if I say Out JDBC and I drag this to this panel that says Canvas, it'll send it to the canvas. So now I have it here. So let's stretch this out a little bit. And I really only care about the Boston IBR table, so I could say, Boston, and it'll give me the Boston tables. I can get rid of this now because I don't need it. And here's all my tables. Cool. So this is the table I want. So let us see here. Let's get rid of you for a minute. I'm going to want to do 3 queries for this, right? I'm going to do one to do the year, and I see I drag out the table and it generates a select all for me. We haven't written any code. We've just pasted in the JDBC connection string. I'm going to want 2 more queries, but let's put them down here because I'm going to do some filtering. Okay, so we'll leave them there for now. Let's open up this first query. All right, so you see it knows it's a table. It knows it's a SQL table. It gives me this very simple, select, pivot table builder. Count, 600,000 records. It's a pretty wide table too. So, okay, cool. Now I can say, all right, well, let's see, look at the district. Okay, no, I don't care about the district. You know, anyone who's used these tools, you know, knows how this goes, right? Year. I can do some interesting things, like if I want to pull in like day of week, group by, and I start clicking on the rows. If you see the left here, it realizes that I'm clicking, and I could say, hey, day of week Friday, so bring that to the where, because there's a value in it. So only show me where the day of week is Friday. You know, that's not useful here, but just as a, you know, for our SQL builder, a good example. Okay, so we got year and count. Cool. That's where I want to get started. So great. And as you can see, it wrote the SQL for me. And the don't worry about the boilerplate. That's just connecting to the JDBC connection. As you can see, with the lighting up, it's sending the connection string to this block and running it, and we have our SQL. Great. All right, so we have that. So let me go over here. Let me just make this block a little more slim and tasteful. Now we have that our year aggregation. I can say, okay, let me pull down this clicked row panel. All right, not too exciting, but if I click a row, it sees the values in this row, right? And it knows, oh, we have a count, which is an integer, and a year, which is an integer, and you see the values there. But it allows me to do some interesting things. I can re-aggregate things. I can create like a, a drop down or something. But I'm going to make a viz. So I go to this Nevo viz. So it's the only one I have implemented so far. But Vega Lite is coming next. So I select count and year, and I want count to be chart Y sum. It doesn't really matter because it's already summed, but you know, whatever. And I want year to be chart X, and we want to sort X ascending because, you know, that's how we normally look at dates. And I see this little bar here, so cool. I'm going to drag this out to the canvas. Okay, cool. We have a simple bar. Ignore the code that was generated. We're just trying to get, we're just trying to get our bar chart. But this is a whole, configuration map of changing all the values. I mean, you could go in here and say, hey, if I want the left to be a little bit more, out there, or maybe I want to change, some of the font, or let's say enable label. I want to put the labels on. I can edit this by typing and coding, and I can edit this by scrubbing and dragging and dropping and all that. But forget that right now. We got our bar. Cool. Let's go here and let's just do one thing just to make it fun. We'll say, I'll change this to white, and then I'll come here and say, I want to make this like a yellow, right? So let's do like this golden yellow. Okay, sweet. We have our bar chart. Very, very cool. All right. Well, when I click on these rows, you'll see up here, it generates the values. It spits the values out. So I can take that right here on this output port of this block, and I can say, all right, well, let's take out the output, and I can see, all right, so it's showing me what's out, year, sum. When I click on stuff, it changes it, and any of us who build dashboards and filter stuff, it's super important to have something that does that. So, cool. So I can use these values to filter other blocks and other queries. So let's see, make this a little smaller. And what do I want from here? Well, I don't want any of this stuff. I don't care about the color. There we go. Year 2017, 2022. That's what I want. So again, we're not doing coding here. So I could write some code to do this in Clojure, but instead I'm going to say, you know what? I just want this year. I'm going to drag that guy out there. All right. So now I have a single integer. 2022 is the output of this block. Unfortunately, I do have to do some typing here because I'm going to feed this 2022 back into a ClickHouse query, and it has to know what the name of the field is, right? So I'm just going to make this a really quick map, and I'm going to say year. All right, so now it is year 2022, and I change it, and it should change 2018, 2017, 2022. Okay. Cool. And that's important because what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this year is 2022 and feed this into the parameters of both these queries. I haven't touched these queries yet, but they should start reacting to the year. Okay, great. And this one, same thing. It should be reacting to the year. Okay, awesome. So what are we going to do here? Well, let us see here. Let's bring in a fence code group. These are crime stat data from the Boston data website. There's a bunch of CSVs. It's missing a bunch of different types of assaults, but it's still it's still useful and interesting, right? So, all right, so we have by assault type group, and what we'll do for this guy, we'll say this will be, let's say, season and index type. Index type is basically like a high level rolled up, other property crime, violent crime, by season. So, okay, cool. Now we have two queries, and go in here, and you can see, they're now both tied to the output value of this graph. Cool. All right, so now we're going to take this guy and make a graph out of it. Same thing, use my little click to row panel. I click a row. I want all these fields. We're going to say count as the sum. Index type, we're going to make index type the color, and season is X. Now, it's not really color because I'm using a heat map here, but it's just basically the pivot, right? So I'm going to drag heat map out. Cool. And what do we got here? So, cool. That works. Let's just take the left. We will say 200, and we'll just kind of like make that out so it fits and looks nice and tasty there. I also could have said, hey, maybe I wanted the color to be a season and the X to be index type, and I could have dragged that out, and you'd see it would be reversed. And maybe that's better actually. I think I like that better. So you know what? We're gonna go to this guy. Go on. Now we've got our heat map the way we want it. Let me bring it up here. And then it's still, it's reacting to the clicks, and changing the values. And animating is cool, but we'll leave it for now. All right. So let's go to this guy. So maybe this guy, I just want to have, the grid, right? I just want to see the values here. All right, so we'll leave that one there. Let's name this. Let's name this the grid. That's already called heat map. That's good. The data, that's not a big deal. We'll call this year bar. All right, nice. And you know what? Let's do one more query just to make this look fancy. We'll drag out our Boston IBR table. We get a select all. I'm just going to do a straight up count one on the whole table. So go down here. You can make that smaller and make sure that we pass our filter in here. So yeah, so 71,000, 70,000. Okay, cool. So now we have the single value. So it's a single row with the field of count one. But I don't want that count one. I want just a value. So like if you were doing like a, something in Python, you wanted to get like a single field, a single row, you'd have to pick that, element in the array. So I'm going to say, all right, well, instead of looking at it as a grid, let's look at it as a map. And the map is a Clojure data structure used everywhere. Think of it like a dictionary in Python, right? So I'm going to say, all right, well, I want this 98,000. So I'm just going to drag this count key out. Okay, so now I just have that integer, right? Because it's better for me to use that. Again, I could have used code and gotten the value out of this, but instead, we're doing the no coding challenge here, right? All right, so now I have this value. Sweet. Now it says 87,000 integer. This is kind of like a fancy display. I want to make it more custom. So let me bring in this. So this is a markdown block. So you see hello rabbit. I can, do my markdown deal here. Whatever you want to do there. So let me drag this value into my markdown, and then instead of hello rabbit, I'm just going to say in. So we can see here when I hover over this, the value coming in is at 87,000, and then we can see it render down there. Make it a little bigger with the markdown. I could have changed it to add the comma, but for now, this is good. What I can also do is see over here style map. Now I promise we wouldn't be doing any coding, but this is just literally CSS, right? So let's say color yellow and font size, I don't know, 23? Maybe that's 23? No, let's make it a little bigger than 23. Like, that seems cool. And then we'll do something fun. We'll do homemade apple, if I can read it. No, I can't really read that. Let's see what else we got. Fair Sands. We'll do Fair Sands. All right, we got our value. Awesome. So, what can we do with this, right? We have our cool little graph, that changes, very reactive. But you want to present it to somebody. You want to make a dashboard, you want to make a page, you want to make something. We can actually minimize this guy since we don't need to see all those tables anymore. So I'm going to drag in a view composer, which does just what you'd think. Takes all these things we've created and puts them together for display and presentation. So let me just see here. So what do we have? Well, we have our year bar. We definitely want that. We definitely want, didn't go in. We want our U bar. We want our heat map. Where is it? All right, there it is, heat map. We want this, what was this called again? Oh, basic text block, yeah. We want the text block. Oh, there it is, jeez. Going blind, all right. And what else? We want this grid. I called it the grid, yeah. As you can see, oops, it's lining it up horizontally. I can also have it line it up vertically. You can mix and match all these. I could create a composer and put it in a composer. But for now, we're just going to say, all right, well, I just want to do floating, right? So let's take our grid, move it over here, take our text box, we'll move the text box, I don't know, up here somewhere. Heat map, there. Year bar, we're going to keep it at the top because that's our main filter. Text box like this. And heat map, we'll do the heat map like here. I definitely made this way too big, but it's good. I have our grid. And so now we have those same elements just composed together in a single view. I should have turned the animation off, but so it functions the same. If I back out, you can even see it still functioning as I modify this one. So we can see the logic that's running to get this, or we could ignore that. You could actually minimize all these so it doesn't double render. And now we have like a micro dashboard, right? We have something running here, changing the values, sending the value back to the SQL, rerunning the SQL, bringing it up. This is all running in ClickHouse, so it's fast, but it's on my local WSL, so it's not super fast. But I could show this in presentation mode. Get rid of this, and maybe we'll move this over here, and we'll do this. So you would basically see it this way, right? You'd present it to somebody in this panel, this preview panel, which would make sure that it shows everything. So we didn't write any Clojure code, but we built something that's actually useful for exploring data. And then, God forbid, we learn some Clojure or figure out how this stuff works, then there's all kinds of other stuff that we can do here. Because, the bare bones of the system is Clojure and ClojureScript. There's no magic. There's no like funky rabbit, rabbit functions that are making it all work, right? It's not like Tableau where I hit a magic button, show me, and it does a bunch of stuff unbeknownst to me. So this, it's a little bit more to process mentally, but it gives you complete control over everything that's going on. And, you can imagine you can make some pretty cool stuff when you have that kind of control. So it's that pivot, right? Flexibility and control versus like quick and easy, like easy bake oven type stuff, right? So let's see, we'll just save this real quick. And if I had, let's go back to the dashboard, if I said star this, and we'll save it again. And if I was in the file browser, you would see now if someone's browsing my Rabbit files, you can see in this flow, they could go right to this dashboard, and it would show here, right? You know, some other, you know, this is a Bigfoot dashboard. I didn't mean to go into this, but you know, just kind of it's just kind of a good example, right? This is another similar thing. Get rid of this. You know, it's a whole flow to build all the components and then render them as a dashboard. This one, you know, allows you to change the state, change the class of the sighting. This is all Bigfoot sighting data from some website. So you know, I can. So this is 2 filters that work together, but I can also unselect a value, and it's like Tableau would do. It sends all for that field, right? So you can see it all rendered there. Here I have a custom, a little thing where I can select the row, and it shows the whole story down here. Not a ton of data, but you know, kind of fun. But it's that same thing, right? You know, where you're using it as a data viz tool, but it's also a full-on programming tool that is the power of the JVM and the power of JavaScript, you know, on the front end for the ClojureScript side. So anyway, so yeah, I wanted to make a quick video. I hope this was kind of quick. That just shows how you could possibly use Rabbit without Clojure, or not even know what is going on, right? You just kind of start messing with things, looking at a database, like picking at some data types or data structures, and you can be on your way to build some cool stuff. So I'm going to do a much more complicated video on that big Boston one that I showed in the very beginning with all the maps and the districts and the incident report. But yeah, this has been cool. So please hit me up. You know, go to datarabbit.com. Hit me up on Twitter at Ryrobes. And you know, this is just the first alpha, but things are going to get better. You know, less buggy, a little bit more streamlined, more data viz libraries, more quick code generators. And yeah, no, I just wanted to build something that I thought was interesting and I thought was cool, and I've done that. So now I hope to convince everybody else that is interesting and cool. And if you have any ideas for that, please hit me up. So thanks everyone. Cheers.